resource they were working on at the moment. And so in the end, we're able to average all of those degrees of exposure across all climate factors to give us an overall relative value for exposure for each resource. The next component that participants looked at was sensitivity. And so exposure tells us, is a resource likely to experience this impact? Sensitivity then kind of gives us the next step of necessary information of, does that experience matter? Does that exposure impact the species or habitat in any way? That will matter. And so sensitivity is a measure of whether and how a resource is likely to be affected by a given change in climate. And so this category of vulnerability had a little bit more information that we were asking participants to provide. They looked at that same list of climate factors, and instead of telling us how exposed they think that species will be to that factor, they were telling us how sensitive they think that species is to that factor. They also gave us a sense of sensitivity to non-climate stressors such as invasive species, impacts from recreation, harvest, roads, coastal armoring. We had a whole list and also asked them to propose new ones that maybe we hadn't thought of ahead of time. And they were also giving us information on dependencies. So for species, for example, is the sea otter specific on a specific prey item? Is it dependent on a specific habitat type? Is it more of a generalist or a specialist? And so all of this information was provided on a scale of 1 to 5. So just like exposure, at the end, we're able to average all of these scores to give us an overall score for sensitivity for every resource. And then the final component of vulnerability is adaptive capacity. And this is the ability to accommodate or cope with climate change impacts.